My name is Davis Heaton, and this is my ecological interaction video. Here you can see a honeybee, the scientific name for which is Apis mellifera. It's performing a mutualistic interaction with the golden currant, scientific name of which is Rebus aureum. This was taken down at the San Joaquin riverbed here in Fresno, and you can see that the honeybee is trying to collect as much nectar as possible out of one flower from the golden currant and then move on to the next flower as it just did. And this process repeats itself quite a few times. Here it goes again, moving to another flower. And there were also some other honeybees of the same species present on this same plant, but they were always on different flowers. I'm not sure if I caught any of them in the video, but there were other honeybees present nearby. You will see, however, in the upper left-hand corner at some point in the video that there is a ladybug, the scientific name of which is Coccinella septempunctata. It was also seen walking across the flowers of the golden currant. Might be easier to see at this point now that the video has gone to half speed. But basically, at each flower, each bee and the ladybug is gaining the benefit of food from the nectar of the flower, while the flower is gaining pollen that has attached itself to the hairs of some of these pollinators. And so the attraction of pollinators is an adaptation that plants have gained over time as a mechanism to aid in reproduction. That is from an article from Fattorini and Glover from 2020. It's best known, it is also known that plants have multiple pollinators from Hopkins in 2020. It's also understood that pollinators each have a particular realized niche that allows for plant-pollinator interactions between specific pollinators and specific plants. And that is from Niet in 2020 as well. With this understanding in mind, it was hypothesized that the honeybees, Apis mellifera, and ladybugs, Coccinella septempunctata, pollinating the golden currant, Rebus aureum, results in an increase in reproductive success as opposed to sole honeybee pollination on the golden currant. The two potential outcomes in regards to this hypothesis are the following. The golden currant has a higher intrinsic rate of increase when being pollinated by both the ladybug and the honeybee, or the golden currant has the same intrinsic rate of increase when being pollinated by the honeybee alone as when being pollinated by both species. This hypothesis could be tested by finding 200 individuals of the Rebus aureum species that exist in the San Joaquin riverbed that had no pollinators currently on them, and transplanting them into two separate arenas composed of 100 individuals, each arena preventing the entrance of new pollinators. One arena would then be introduced to the honeybee and the ladybug, while the other arena would be introduced to just the honeybee. Then the following year, the number of surviving individuals and the number of new offspring would be counted and documented. It would be predicted that if the honeybee and ladybug together improve reproductive success, then there would be more golden currant individuals the following year in the arena that contained both pollinators compared to the individual that contained the arena that contained just the honeybee. Conversely, if the honeybee is the only pollinator of the golden currant, there would be no significant difference in the number of golden currant between the arenas the following year. The independent variable for this experiment is the presence of Apis mellifera and Coccinella septempunctata, aka the honeybee and the ladybug, compared to the presence of Apis mellifera alone, aka just the honeybee. The dependent variable for this experiment is the amount of Rebus aureum species present the following year, aka the number of golden currant species present the following year. The control variables for this experiment would be the number of Rebus aureum species in each arena, starting with 100, and then the amount of sunlight, water, and wind exposure that each group received, These would all have to be equal to ensure that one of these variables did not cause some variation in the intrinsic rate of increase. The absence of initial pollinators, as well as the elimination of the immigration of pollinators to each arena, is also a control variable, as other pollinators could compromise the integrity of the experiment. And the age and the health of the rebus aureum individuals would also be a control variable, as each individual would need to be reproductively mature and healthy. As the rebus aureum species is able to self-pollinate, it would not be necessary to take into account the sex of the rebus aureum species that or individuals that were collected, as they were able to pollinate themselves. And this concludes my ecological interaction video project.